where you have all types of, you fill in the blank of your favorite psychopathic cult leader or terrorist group or whatever it might be, right? This is the progression of the ideological system of belief, is that God himself will not be able to use his, divine intervention to cast judgment on these individuals. So I am becoming a vehicle now of serving God. This is the most extreme case, obviously, right? I become a vehicle of serving God through waging retribution, waging war against those that God has deemed to be unfit, right? So that this is the method in which an individual becomes conditioned. And obviously 12b in Nietzsche's text talk quite a bit about that. I've spent obviously a lot of time referring back to that note, because that note is in a sense a foundation for this whole lecture series. They have been seduced by an appeal to their opinion. This is important, right? Now we can start to get where we need to go, right? The population, the masses, have been seduced by an appeal to their opinion. So obviously what ends up happening is if I create a discourse on service that immediately appeals to the things that you believe, you're going to be more willing to serve. Obviously, right? If I create a discourse on service that goes completely, that is completely antithetical to what your belief system is, or what the mass system of belief might be, or the mass opinion, public opinion is, a very small number of that population is going to serve. However, if I create a sense in which I can assess public opinion, and I can make an appeal to that, that appeal will be reinforced because I'm basically placating. I'm basically appealing to your vanity, in a sense, right? So they have been seduced by an appeal to their opinion, which solidifies the herd mentality, right? And later we'll talk more about this idea of Nietzsche will talk quite a bit more about this notion of the herd mentality. But the idea of the herd at this level is that the herd as a collection dissolves the individual, so that we can talk about the collection of many individuals in terms of one unit. So, 350 million people within the United States as one unit of people. Obviously, this generalizes grossly, right? Insofar as we talk about that, if I make an appeal to that one individual unit, and I can get a sense of what that public opinion might be, then insofar as I create a discourse on service, a huge majority, if my appeal is proper, if I really have a sense of what public opinion is, my discourse, when I engage them to do something, will be more effective the more that appeal pertains to public opinion. Okay, that might have been a bit confusing, so I'll just draw a simple graph, easy correlation analysis, right? We have the distinction between service and opinion. If I want you to do something for the state, right? Just like if I were to ask you to do something for me, right? If I wanted you to do something for the state, then there's a better likelihood that you will do more and more for the state the more I know what the public opinion is. So there's a direct correlation, right? The more I know the public opinion of the population, and I really assess, let's say this is public opinion as such, which we can never attain, we always approach it, and this is this is completely antithetical to public opinion. If I really, really know the public opinion, I'll really be able to get you to do a lot of service, right? So that there's a direct correlation between public opinion and me engaging or asking you, or well, we wouldn't go demanding, that's a more tyrannical, but me engaging and asking you to do. Now, recognize that this appeal also applies to the religious community, right? And this is where this last bit comes in. They have been, this is the last two sentences of on page 34, they have been seduced by an appeal to their opinion, which solidifies their herd mentality, and then service becomes a way of life, right? Service becomes a way of life. Why? Because what we'll see later is that this notion of public opinion, the opinion of now, not the political level, which I think is clear, but the opinion of the religious community, the opinion of the community of devotees who are ascribing to the highest moral imperative, that opinion is actually not an opinion of their own. This is sort of Chomskyan, right? And I don't want to bring in, obviously, I mean, it's sort of anachronistic to bring in Chomsky, but it really is Chomskyan insofar as the opinion of the masses has itself been manufactured, right? This is way too deep to really get into YouTube, and I'm not going to get into it here because there are certain things that I can't cover on YouTube and certain things that I can't cover. And this is one of the things that I can't cover because it would require just a profound amount of analysis to make sense of this. But just to give you a taste of sort of the structure, and for those of you who want to figure this out yourself, fine, but I'm not going to get into it, is if we recognize that there is a relationship between public opinion and service, and the more I garner public opinion, the more I can get you to do things, that's fine. However, if I recognize on an religious ideological system of beliefs that I can actually manufacture public opinion and have you believe that you actually have an opinion of your own, which I transposed really inherently on you, and this is a discourse on popcorn flavored ice cream, then I can actually get you to work as hard and serve as hard as you possibly can, because the opinion that you think you've manufactured, the opinion you think that you have inherently, I've actually implanted that opinion on you. So your opinion isn't even yours, right? So that's, and there's a whole structure of how that goes. Chomsky really sort of began the discourse on sort of manufacturing consent, but a lot of it's progressed it's progressed a lot since manufacturing consent was initially sort of conceptualized. So that's that. Okay, and then the last question is, but who is being served, right? And I don't have an answer for that. Who's being served? In this sense, if you want to look in a public discourse, I would say both the government and the population is served. The government is served, like in a JFK sort of idealized version. In that version, both the government and the population are served. The population is served because if you care about your country and you love your country, you don't have to be a fanatic. You want to feel that you are making contributions to protect and to increase the wealth and blah, blah, the international standing of your country. I mean, that's just normal, right? So you want to feel that you're doing something for your country, right? Or your business. It doesn't necessarily have to be a country, or your whatever. The country benefits. Why? Because the country is able to get the best and the brightest to help propel the country into the next generation. Okay, on a religious level, the question is who's being served? Well, this is where it gets completely shaky for Nietzsche, right? And this is the importance, and this is why I spent so much time discussing this now, because now is when you really get to see the dilemma for Nietzsche. I know who's being served here. I can talk about the service of my country, my contribution to serve my country, my country's contribution to help me out as an individual, my contribution to serve my daughter, my son, my wife, my daughter, my son, my wife's contribution to help serve me. But when I'm serving God, who's really being served? If your answer is really all of my labor, and we just saw this in this a couple hours ago, on the discourse of free writing, right? Since we recognize that our actions, according to Nietzsche, within an enclosed system between immoralists and Christians is one of inaction, one wherein value is derived from inaction, then who am I really serving? One, I'm not really working, right? So the service that I'm doing is actually a disposition and not actual work. So that's the first part, right? But then to take it even deeper, the work that I'm doing, and this is Nietzsche, right? The work that I'm doing, in scare quotes because he doesn't view it as work, is actually work in service for God. So what Nietzsche would say is that the work that you're doing, the service, because obviously service is an act of work, right? So this arrow represents work. But Nietzsche would say that this represents work in scarecrows, because we saw in our previous discourse on the problem of free writing that the work that the Christian community participates in is inauthentic work, right? It's inactive.